The courtroom went dead silent. My boss, Mark, was sweating bullets, and it all came down to one simple spreadsheet. I knew the numbers would tell the truth. I just didn't expect them to bury him alive. Here's how it started. I was a senior data analyst at a mid-sized tech company called Innovatech. We specialized in software solutions for small businesses. It was a decent job, paid well, and I generally liked the people I worked with. Except for Mark, the head of the marketing department. He always wore the smug grin, like he knew something you didn't, and he treated everyone like they were beneath him. What Mark didn't realize was that I kept meticulous records of every shady request he ever made. Every email, every meeting, every phone call. I had it all saved, just in case. My world was pretty stable. I had a routine, a comfortable life. I worked hard, paid my bills, and looked forward to my weekends. I had a girlfriend, Sarah, who I loved, and we were even talking about getting married. That's why I wasn't about to let Mark jeopardize everything I had worked for. About 6 months ago, Innovatech launched a new product, Project Phoenix. It was supposed to be our flagship product, the next big thing. Mark was in charge of the launch, and he was determined to make it a success. But there was a problem. Our existing product, Legacy, was still performing incredibly well, better than Phoenix, by a long shot. And that's where I came in. Mark summoned me to his office one Tuesday morning. "I need you to prepare the performance numbers for Project Phoenix," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. "And I want you to compare them against Legacy." I crunched the data, and the results were undeniable. Legacy was crushing Phoenix across every key metric. Sales, customer satisfaction, market share. It wasn't even close. I knew that presenting these numbers to senior management would be a disaster for Phoenix, and by extension, for Mark. So I went back to Mark with a proposal. "I think we should reframe the story," I said. "Focus on the long-term potential of Phoenix, highlight the need for increased marketing support, downplay the direct comparison to Legacy." He stared at me, his eyes cold. "Are you questioning my strategy?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. "No, sir. I'm just offering a suggestion." "I want the numbers, raw and unfiltered," he snapped. "Present them exactly as they are. Is that clear?" He always said, "Is that clear?" after giving an order. It was one of his favorite power moves. I knew I was walking into a trap, but I couldn't refuse a direct order. So I documented my concerns in an email to myself, a CYA move, and then did exactly what he asked. I compiled the full comparison with clear data and striking visuals. The difference in performance was impossible to miss. I sent the report to senior management, copying Mark on the email. Then I waited, the calm before the storm. What my boss didn't know was that I included all of our previous email exchanges, where I specifically outlined my concerns. The reaction was swift and brutal. Senior management tore into the launch strategy, questioned the investment decision, and put the entire product team under a microscope. Mark was caught in the crossfire, and he knew it. That's when the betrayal started. During the fallout, Mark tried to distance himself from the report. He acted as though he hadn't reviewed the numbers before they were shared. He even went so far as to say that I had acted without his approval. Can you believe the audacity? He called me into his office, his face red with anger. "What the hell did you do?" he yelled. "You deliberately sabotaged Project Phoenix." "I followed your instructions to the letter," I said calmly. "I presented the data exactly as you requested." "You should be fired for this," he screamed. "You're trying to make me look bad." "I'm just a data analyst, Mark," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I present the facts. What people do with them is out of my control." He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You should be grateful I even gave you this opportunity." The nerve of this guy. He stormed out of his office, leaving me standing there in stunned silence. I knew he was going to try to throw me under the bus. I just didn't know how far he would go. It felt like a punch to the gut. But I had to keep my composure and plan my next move. Things got worse. Mark started spreading rumors about me, telling people that I was incompetent and untrustworthy. He tried to isolate me from the rest of the team, hoping to force me to quit. I could feel the tension in the office, the way people avoided eye contact. It was suffocating. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe I should have just gone along with Mark's plan. Maybe I should have protected my job, even if it meant compromising my integrity. For a moment, I almost believed him. Then I thought about Sarah, about our future. I knew I couldn't let Mark win. I had to fight back, not just for my job, but for my reputation, for my future. I decided right then and there that Mark was going to pay for what he had done. If stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, hit subscribe. I drop a new one every single day. I started documenting everything, every conversation, every email, every meeting. I built a timeline of events, meticulously piecing together the evidence that would expose Mark's deceit. I spent hours after work poring over documents, searching for anything that could help my case. It was exhausting, but I was determined. That's when I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Mark had been manipulating the sales projections for Project Phoenix, inflating the numbers to make the product look more successful than it actually was. He was cooking the books, plain and simple, and he was using my data to do it. Wait, it gets worse. I found emails where Mark was actively bad-mouthing the legacy product, trying to diminish its value in the eyes of senior management. He was intentionally sabotaging our existing product to make his new product look better. I was shocked. This was beyond unethical. It was downright criminal. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Should I go to HR? Should I contact a lawyer? Should I just quit and walk away? I was torn. But then I realized that I had a weapon that Mark didn't know about: the truth. I decided to play Mark's game, but with a twist. I would use his own data against him. I would expose his lies, reveal his manipulations, and show everyone what he really was: a fraud. The first step was to gather all the evidence. I compiled every email, every document, every spreadsheet that implicated Mark in the scheme. I organized it all into a comprehensive report with clear headings and concise explanations. I wanted to make it impossible for anyone to ignore what Mark had done. Then I waited for the right moment. I knew that Mark was planning a presentation to senior management where he would present the inflated sales projections for Project Phoenix. This was my chance. I had exactly 3 days before he would present that false data. On the day of the presentation, I arrived early and waited outside the conference room. I could hear Mark inside, laughing and joking with the executives. He sounded so confident, so smug. It made my blood boil. As Mark was about to begin his presentation, I walked into the room. Everyone stopped talking and stared at me. Mark's face turned white. The confidence melted away, replaced by a look of pure panic. "I have something to say," I announced, my voice calm and steady. "I have evidence that Mark has been manipulating the sales projections for Project Phoenix." I could see the shock on everyone's faces, the disbelief in their eyes. But I didn't back down. I proceeded to present my report, systematically dismantling Mark's lies. I showed the manipulated data, the incriminating emails, the evidence of his sabotage. The room was silent, except for the occasional gasp of disbelief. As I finished my presentation, I looked at Mark. His face was ashen, his body trembling. He knew he was finished. Senior management started firing questions, demanding answers. Mark stammered and stuttered, trying to defend himself, but it was no use. The evidence was overwhelming. Finally, the CEO stood up. "Mark," he said, his voice cold and hard, "you're fired. Security will escort you out of the building." Mark's face crumpled. He tried to plead his case, to beg for forgiveness, but it was too late. He was led out of the room, his career in ruins. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge leaned forward, and my ex-boss started to cry. But here's the part nobody saw coming. The CEO, visibly impressed by my thoroughness, turned to me. "We appreciate you bringing this to our attention," he said. "We want you to take over as head of the marketing department. You've earned it." I was stunned. I hadn't expected this. I had only wanted to expose Mark's deceit, not to take his job. But I knew that this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I accepted the offer, and my life changed forever. The consequences for Mark were devastating. He not only lost his job, but his reputation was ruined. He was blacklisted in the industry, unable to find work anywhere else. His wife left him, taking their children with her. He lost his house, his car, everything. 6 months ago, he was bragging about his new Tesla in the parking lot. Today, he can't afford a bus pass. As for me, I thrived in my new role. I implemented new strategies, improved morale, and launched successful campaigns. Innovatech became more profitable than ever before. Sarah and I got married, and we're now expecting our first child. Life is good. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. Sometimes I feel a pang of guilt for what happened to Mark. But then I remember the way he treated me, the way he tried to destroy my career, and I know that I did what I had to do. Do you think going to the authorities was crossing a line, or was it exactly what he deserved? I genuinely want to know. Tomorrow, I'm telling you about the woman who destroyed a $2 million company using nothing but a burner phone and a fake LinkedIn profile.